we go to the $5 million Breeders' Cup Classic, the final career start for the sensational mare Zenyatta, trying to become well, it depends on what Goldakova does. If Goldakova wins, Zenyatta at this point will be trying to become the second horse ever to win 3 Breeders' Cup races. In this case, the Ladies' Classic from 2008, the Breeders' Cup Classic from last year, and the Classic again. She's trying to become the second ever, joining Tiz now, to win the Classic in back-to-back years. And there you see the horses that were pre-entered in the Breeders' Cup Classic. If we look at horses that were double pre-entered, as they say, Crown of Thorns, again expected to run in the dirt mile instead. Gio Ponte's still on the fence. They don't know where they're going to go with him. Patio Prado, this race is the one that they're looking at. And Dakota Phone, I believe, is expected to run in the dirt mile instead of the Classic as well. So you can subtract a couple of horses from that field. Blame at, well, Zenyatta is the 5-2 odds favorite on the watchmaker line. It looks like his order of preference, Blame, was the horse that he thought was the horse to beat. My top 5 is topped by the horse that I think is the most brilliant of those, and that would be Quality Road. I've got Quality Road 1, and we're going to have a lot to say about this. Quality Road 1, Blame 2, Zenyatta 3, Looking at Lucky 4, and Musket Man 5 with Fly Down, I think also a horse that you should throw into the bottom part of your trifectas and superfectas, because I think he's got a shot to hit the board as well. So why not Zenyatta? What's your thought? What's your thought on Zenyatta in this race?
Well, first of all, Randy, let me inform you the blogosphere is now just irate at hearing that pronouncement that Zenyatta is no better than third choice. What do I think about Zenyatta? For her to win, on the one side, for her to win, she's got to run a little faster, maybe more than a little faster than she's ever run before, at least on dirt. She's never failed to get the job done, though. I've gone over, I think it's a very tough race, though I think you can compact the field down to, as you did, 4 or 5 serious contenders. And I think Zenyatta is absolutely one of those contenders. I have questions about Quality Road, and I think if Quality Road is just kind of the way he was in the Whitney, kind of in that same neighborhood with Blame, I think Zenyatta can run them both down. I know we've got a race to look at, but I think Zenyatta could win, but I don't think here she is last year in the Classic, and this is synthetic, but here's 4 horses in front of her, and what do you think, Randy? I think this is unbelievable.
Yeah, as Trevor Denman would say. Zenyatta running them down in very strong fashion. Now, last year, I felt like I was in the minority. I was one of the few people, at least in my circle, and I'm not trying to tout my own horn because I'm wrong way more often than I'm right, but I thought that Zenyatta had a great chance to win that race. She had run a Beyer of 108 a couple of times in her career, going a mile and a 16th. With her running style, with the distance of a mile and a quarter, with the synthetic surface that she was running on being even more exaggerated toward late speed as the distances get longer, I felt that she had a great chance to mow them all down, even though it was a pretty solid field. But as we talk about Zenyatta and her chances to win, you cannot underestimate the difference in racing surfaces between synthetic and dirt. Okay. Now, yes, Zenyatta is 2 for 2 on dirt. She went to the Apple Blossom twice, and she won it. You can definitely make the case. I mean, those are the 2 biggest winning margins that she's had. That's the difference between dirt racing and synthetic racing. The margins get a little more elongated. She's going to have to do better than beating brownie points to win the Breeders' Cup Classic on dirt. Mm-hmm. Very few horses with Zenyatta's running style are as good on dirt as they are on synthetics. We don't have much of a body, unfortunately, because they've taken it easy on Zenyatta schedule-wise. We don't have as much of a body of evidence, to look at Zenyatta and say conclusively, she will be just as good against Grade 1 competition against the boys on dirt at a mile and a quarter as she was on synthetics at a mile and a quarter. I can tell you this, and I feel very strongly about this. Zenyatta's 19 for 19, 17 for 17 on synthetics. If if those 17 races on synthetics had been instead on dirt, I think she would have lost 4 or 5 of those. You cannot convince me that if Zenyatta had been in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, that she could have run down Haynesfield.
Because of the pace scenario?
Because of the pace scenario. It's the fundamental difference between dirt racing and synthetic racing. On synthetic racing, when Zenyatta runs against horses that she's superior against out at Del Mar or Hollywood or Oak Tree, and they go 49 or 48 in front of her, it still favors come from behinders inherently, the surface, to such an extent that Mike Smith can sit back there, not worry about the pace. He can still take her 4 or 5 or 6 wide around the turn and feel confident that she'll be able to run him down. On dirt, you can't do that. It just doesn't happen that way on dirt. And when you get a horse like Haynesfield in the Jockey Club Gold Cup that steals away in 48 and change, a horse like Zenyatta would have an extremely difficult time with her running style on dirt. She can give just as much of a performance as she has been giving, but the surface, I think, would have gotten her beat on that day. So to me, I wouldn't be surprised to see her win. I'm going to be rooting like heck for her.
Yeah, I think everybody will.
Yeah, it'd be a great story, and I think she's going to be right. She's going to be flying at the end. She's going to be right there. I mean, how can she not be? She's always right there. But Quality Road to me is, if you look at his Don, it's by far the most impressive race that any horse in this field has run. The Whitney, when he was beaten by Blame, I think as we take a look at it, he found himself on the pace in here, and I don't think that's really where Quality Road wants to run. I hate to sound like I'm talking trainer speak here. That's what Todd Pletcher said. And he did get an easy lead, and Blame ran him down, but he was giving 5 pounds to Blame here, and I think Quality Road is better when he gets a target like he's going to get in the Breeders' Cup. He has a very high cruising speed. Blame is obviously a very nice horse as well. To me, I think the winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic is probably going to be one of those 2 horses, but I think Quality Road has the ability to open up. I'm sorry, I'm dominating the conversation here. Open up 3 lengths or so as I knock out his IFP. Open up 3 lengths or so at the top of the stretch, and then play Catch Me If You Can as Blame and Zenyatta try to run him down.
No, I wanted you to keep talking, Randy, because I looked at this race a long time, and I'm still not sure what I think in terms of picking a winner. I've got, an under-the-radar horse and all that stuff, but, it's one thing for me to say Zenyatta is going to lose. It's another thing for me to say which one it is who's going to beat her. To me, with Quality Road, here are my only knocks on the horse. That Don was brilliant, but he's only run it once. We're starting, and if Todd Pletcher could have written the conditions of this race, he would not have written in 1.25 miles as the race distance. He would prefer that the race were 1.125 miles.
That's a good way to put it.
If he were the god of racing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that extra furlong is only going to hurt rather than help Quality Road. Now, maybe it won't hurt him much at all. Maybe his talent will shine through. Maybe he'll have a tactical advantage. As we'll see later in the under the radar, I do think there's going to be solid pace pressure, now, which may work in Quality Road's favor, but I think the pace is going to be legit, to say the least. I don't think they're going to crawl due to the presence of Morning Line. You mentioned one horse in your list because another person, I know Bob Ehalt on the chat likes Musket Man.
Yeah.
I hated his Monmouth Cup race.
Really?
He was in the perfect part of the track, the way that meet has been playing, and I was so disappointed that he couldn't run down Etched. But his races prior to that, he's right there with the likes of Quality Road and Blame. Why did you like Musket Man?
I think Etched is a little better horse than people give him credit for, and I think if watching that race, I thought he was tons the best because of the trip that he got in terms of being down inside and having to back out, having to come around at the top of the stretch. I thought if they ran that race 5 times, he probably won it 4.
Okay.
And I just think he's a tough horse. I mean, when you go back and look at the Whitney that everybody looks at, and everybody's like I was when we just showed it, all focused in on Blame running down Quality Road. Well, in that same race, you had Musket Man, who was only 1 3/4 behind them, who was 3 to 4 wide around both the turns. I haven't seen the sheets or either version of them, but I have a sneaking suspicion that if you go back and you look at that race on the sheets, Musket Man might have come out with a better number than either Blame or Quality Road. That was at 1.8 miles. The knock has been, can he get 1.25 miles? We may run him in the dirt mile. We don't know what to do. To me, his toughness, he's by Yanaguska. He's not bred to get 1.25 miles, but the toughness definitely is a big thing in his favor, and I think he's going to run pretty well.